Anyway.
I don't think so.
I have brought you 5 indie developers here to tell you their tale about how they got started, and hopefully this is going to be really interactive with a lot of good questions. First off, we have Kunal Patel here of PhykenMedia, Erica Holcomb from TBA Games, Rupert Megnan from Burnout Game Ventures, Jay Nolan, with his game Dropsy. Here with your studio name. Tendershoot Studio, and Fabian Flores with Gentleman Squid. So I picked the best that I could. Hopefully they'll all have some interesting stories to tell today. I'm switching mics, hang on. About what you have here at the Expo.
All right, let's see if this works. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Oh, awesome. Okay, so my name is Kunal Patel. I'm the co-founder of PhykenMedia. It's a game studio here in Orlando, like probably many of these studios here. I'm also co-founder of Indienomicon, fellow board member with Tony and a few others that have purple shirts, and I forgot mine. The PhykenMedia table is right behind you guys, and we have a game that doesn't have a title yet. It's codenamed Space Dogs at the moment. So it's a game about dogs that have flown into space and they're fighting enemies. And it's a game that we kind of put together in about a month. They're all different types of dogs, all different types of temperaments, and they're all fighting for space justice. Yes, actually there are dogs of different nationalities that are in the game. So it's a pretty fun game. It's competitive. It's 2-player. I suggest you guys go check that out. It's kind of near the entrance of the main Expo area. So codenamed Space Dogs.
Hello. I assume you can hear me. I hope. I'm Erica Holcomb, and I am the co-director and co-founder of TBA Games, a small local indie company. We started about a year ago and have been working on the game Perry-Arian, which is a lot easier to spell if you look at our business cards. And the goal of TBA Games is to make games involving real-world science. So right now we have Perry-Arian, which has just been launched and just been released, and is currently available on our website. Also, we're trying to get it greenlit, so if you have Steam, go vote for us. And we're working on releasing Pet Rock 2, a game that we started with a small team at the Indie Galactic Space Jam that Kunal held over the summer.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? All right, don't jump up all at once now. So my name is Rupert Megnan. I'm with Burnout Game Ventures. We are an indie venture incubator. So we're more than an incubator. I invest in indie games. You go through our proprietary processes, and we take you from 0 to revenues in 6 months or less. So in the first 8 months, we have over 80 people working on 6 projects. We've started 4 new companies, and our first game was greenlit within 6 months. So back there we have 4 games. We've got Bit Evolution, which is a 2D platformer. That was greenlit. It's going to be released on Steam Early Access on the 16th. Then we have Nora, which is a first-person, or a 3D, third-person psychological thriller aboard a spaceship. They're showing their concept art. Then we have Victim 146, which is a 3D first-person horror exploration game. And then we have Symbio VR's V-Armor, which is based on a patent that we own, a virtual reality patent we own, which combines multiple components of virtual reality systems into one unit. So they're all back there in the corner. By the way, we're giving away a free $50 Steam card. So for tweeting at Burnout Game Vent between now and 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Hello, my name is Jay Tholen. I am a developer from Polk County. Anyone from Polk County? All right. Anyway, I'm making an adventure game, point-and-click adventure. It's over that way with about a clown. And yeah, go check it out. Not now though, later.
That's Dropsy, J-E-P. You didn't say the name of the game.
Yeah, it's Dropsy, D-R-O-P-S-Y. Sorry.
Hi, I'm David from Gentleman Squid Studio, and we're a indie game developer located close by the UCF area. Our booth over here, we're actually showcasing 3 of our games. We have Rise of the Ravager, which I think that was in maybe the 4th Indienomicon or something like that. And then we're also showcasing 3 Dead Dead, which was earlier this year we released the Green Littles game. And we actually have a smaller game that probably some of you haven't seen. It's kind of like a runner. We call it Orbit Crash. It's basically your little, I guess, comet, and you're just hitting other things to get bigger and bigger. And as you get, you're eventually supposed to just start to smash galaxy as this little thing. So that's what we're showcasing.
Okay, so my next question is, what was the first independent game that you were a part of? What was the first independent game that you were a part of?
Actually, the first game that I was ever a part of, it's a game called Noble Play. It's something that we were contracted out to do, and it was like an MMO for children. It was supposed to be a game that was for philanthropic ideas and to just, instead of like making a game that's typically just education, a lot of times education games or sometimes they used to have in the past be kind of boring. We actually made this game where like an environment for like we subtly teach you things. Like for example, we have a shooter where you play the dragon, and instead of using for like power ups, you actually try to do things like that. And you still get power ups, but you could have things like that. So we actually make games where there's a lot of things like that where we're like just subtly introducing things to hopefully kids or other adults. That was the first game.
Commercial or?
Just interesting. I know you've done a lot of.
My first game was when I was like 13, and it was like ripped Dragon Ball Z sprites, like flying around in like click and play or some crappy well, I love click and play, it's not crappy. But my first like game like that I would want anyone to play was, I don't know. What was it? I have so many dumb little games. Well, I'll just say my first commercial game was Hypnospace Enforcer. I put it out this summer, and I made it over the course of a month as a way to distract myself from my main game because it was like kind of like burning me out a little bit, like Burnout Game Ventures. But anyway, sorry. But it was burning me out, so I worked on this little game as a way to get away from like the main game I was working on, which was Dropsy, because it's a buttload of work. So I just put that out this summer, and the response has been pretty cool. It was at a festival in Chicago. Hypnospace Enforcer. It's a little car. You got a little psychedelic car, and you like pull people over in some weird psychedelic world. Anyway.
You don't know Jay. Just has love for making games. I like to say very artistic.
Man, many words. Just to clarify things, Burnout Game Ventures is not about burning out. Basically, it takes a lot of horsepower to be successful in games, so that's where we get burnout. We don't believe in crunch. We're doing a burnout instead of being. So we don't believe in crunch. Okay. So the first games that I was ever involved in was back in 1998. you all remember that? You know, we had roads and staffs, and cars had the whole floor. So in any case, I had back then I had a simulation company, a motion simulation company, and so we had a helicopter simulator, and which is still in my garage, and real popular with the local kids. And so we had created a game for that called Chopper Assault, which was based on Hasbro Interactive's Gunship. And so we licensed it from them and everything. And then we took their IP and we modified it for our own uses to play as in an arcade setting. And then we were selling our systems to, Dave & Buster's and Palace Entertainment, so on and so forth. So that was my first foray into games. And now, I can't get enough of them.
This one for me is really easy, Periarian. It's my first game, apart from a few earlier student games and just like sort of prototypes. This is the first full complete game I've ever worked on since I moved to Orlando about 2 years ago now, 2 years? Yeah, time gets lost. To join the game industry after realizing that the music industry was not full of people that were as friendly and as nice as the people in the game industry. So, yeah.
Very cool. I guess my first indie game was when I first started the indie studio, PhykenMedia. So our first title was Wizard Ops. We wanted to make, just a new title with new characters. So we just thought of, hey, wizards and commandos, and we combined it, and it became Wizard Ops. So we had, and then we realized, it's definitely a really hard thing making games. So we had these thoughts like, we'll have like 4 wizards, and they'll have like different powers, and then we'll make this, and we realized, we maybe need to scale back. And the first game was, that's what we called it, Chapter 1, because we thought, okay, we'll just expand it from there. So the first one was just all about the fire wizard. And just kind of running up the screen and shooting at bad guys to go rescue the rest of his wizard buddies. And there's a whole story to it. And then the other unique thing about it was, we had, the programming and art and design and all that other stuff, that kind of came together even though we had some hiccups there. But there was a weird thing that got involved with the sound effects for that game. In our studio we have a sofa and we do a lot of BSing on it, like, hey, we're gonna do this and do that. So we thought, okay, we got music and art and all the other stuff. What about sound effects? We decided either a $20 CD of sound effects, or we thought, whatever happened to that one guy from Police Academy? That one guy who did like all the sound effects, like the one black cop that like just did that. And you're like, I wonder where he's at. Wouldn't it be crazy if he did the sound effects for our game? And we just passed it off like, that'll never happen. And so then I actually just started doing like some internet stalking, and I ended up finding like a lot of different numbers online. I just started calling all of them, and then his wife, ended up answering on one of them, and I had to convince her that I wasn't a crazy person. And then eventually I got through, and she's like, okay, fine, you can talk to him. And I spoke to him, and he was like, yeah, I love games. And then then I said, well, really? Okay, well, you know what? We're here in Orlando. And he's like, yeah, I'm here in Orlando too. I was like, this is crazy. And so we worked it out where he'd come into the office to kind of meet up. And I told the rest of the guys, hey, remember that thing we were talking about, like with Michael Winslow? Yeah, that'll never happen. And then he walks in. And then it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then, he walks past like this life-size Robocop we have in the office, and he starts making Robocop noises. And then he sees that there's like a tank in our game, he starts making tank noises. And there's some other people, like neighbor offices to us as well. And when they'd walk by, he'd make like cat noises, but it would sound like it came from somewhere else. So it was awesome. So anyways, like it worked out where he did the sound effects inside of our entire game for Chapter 1. And that got us on TV and stuff, so it was cool.
Can you guys hear me? I feel like my mic is
Bring it up.
All right. So my next question was about why did you decide to develop games independently as opposed to like going after a big, AAA developer or something and try and join up with that?
Okay, well, since I have it, I'll start again. Well, I just wanted to start something on my own. I knew it was a really risky venture, like starting games, but I studied computer science and I did some computer animation as well, and I knew that I wasn't going to start it immediately. Because when we graduated, my co-founder and I were like, so we're going to start the game studio or write accounting software? And we just didn't have millions in our pockets, so we split off and did other things. I went into corporate America and did that for a while. I was a CTO, and he went and studied more in games. And going through that was really difficult. I learned a lot. It was good experience in learning different things. But I wanted the flexibility to do things on my own terms. And so I knew that once I could save up enough money, I wanted to get a start. And even if we kind of fell, down the wrong path, at least we could readjust. It wasn't a lot of bureaucracy. So that's kind of why I wanted to start an indie studio. I wanted to do something creative and fun. I wanted to do something technical, and I didn't want a lot of people kind of holding me down on that. So that's kind of where it came from.
Thank you.
My decision to go into indie games as opposed to big game studio or anything was basically just for this project, but it kind of grew, and now we're taking on other projects, so hopefully that will keep going. And funding would be nice too one day. But it was more based on just the fact that nobody was making the sort of games that we really wanted to make. And that was the reason we made Fairy Area in the first place, is that there weren't any games quite like it. There's things like Oregon Trail, but a lot of games like that have not been made recently. So we wanted to make, again, scientific games with an educational method that are educational but not boring. And they're still very challenging games. They're still appealing to gamers. So we just didn't see any of that in bigger game studios.
The question is, why are we in indie games? Is that it?
Yeah. Why did you decide to make independent games or work with independent games as opposed to going after a job at TBA?
All right. Well, first of all, I started my first company when I was 20, and my mother never forgave me. And I've only, aside from working for one company back in the late 80s and working for wholesale for the last 6 years, I never worked for anybody else. I've always been self-employed. And so the last 6 years, I was working at wholesale teaching project management and how to make games in the Game Design Master's Degree program. And I wasn't getting any credit, even though I've worked in the space program and aerospace, DARPA and cutting edge technologies and things like that. I had my own simulation business. In the 90s, I had a company called Virtual Entrepreneur where I specialized in helping people start their companies, especially technology companies. So I worked on building the cool stuff that you see today that you take for granted is the stuff that I helped get started in the 90s. And so after 4 or 5 years of wholesale working with games, I'm getting the itch again, right? I'm I want to help people out. I mean, if you're not helping anybody else out, how good are you? So my students were, hey, we're working on a game, can you help us out? Hey, we've got a guy who's got a great game idea, we want to help him out. Teach him about business, teach him about marketing, and why on earth are we going with a freemium model and not a paid model or whatever? So ultimately, a lot of people would come to me again saying, hey, can you help us with that? And I started talking to a lot of people here at Indienomicon coming here, over a year, about a year and a half ago, and asking them, what do you need? What problems are you having as an indie company? And they've been telling me how to market ourselves, how to plan. We don't apply our game because we sell on our websites only to make $500 a month. And I'm I know how to fix that. that's why I basically started Burnout Game Ventures. It happened out on a weekend, really. I was thinking about it, and we did a 48-hour game jam. And one of the games that we came up with was one of the games that's one of our client companies. And 3 days after the game jam, the global game jam, which a friend of mine, Susan Gold, started years ago, a guy on Facebook with like 15,000 viewers or whatever did a 9-minute walkthrough of our game out of the 3,000 games that were created. He started walking through our game. And that was it. He said, I can make a business out of this. So now we've got other projects and so help you all out.
The question is why I decided to be indie instead of working at a big company. Well, I don't know if I had much of a choice. Like, I didn't have a desire to work in a big studio. I just like making stuff, you know? It's like a hobby, you know, it's like, and I don't want to go, like, I started doing pixel art commissions because pixel art is like the thing I'm good at, and to make money because I lost my job. And so it is so hard to get motivated to do some guy's like anime avatar, like when I don't really care about it, like I just could not, I'm like, oh my god, this is excruciating, I don't want to do this. It became work, it became like a thing I just did not want to do, like I had no desire. So I feel like if I joined a game studio, even if it was pixel art that I relied at, it would become something like that I just would not want to do at all. And it wasn't really that I chose it, like I've just always been making games, you know, since I was like 13, and I've just been telemarketing and things because I'm a high school dropout, don't do that. And then I got this game, got pretty popular through Kickstarter, and then it got published. So now I'm able to maybe make some money off of it.
Wow, what are the albums?
But that's why.
Actually, Gentleman Squid Studio is actually a subsidiary of another company called HT. And what we did was basically like doing like trading and simulations and making products. You know, it's just basically your bread and butter thing. And so but then I started looking around at our workforce and I'm like, well, we have programmers here, we have artists here, we don't like games, and we want to make expand our portfolio. So I actually wrote a pitch to stuff like that. And I was like, hey, want me get into gaming? They kind of like mapped out what kind of things we should do. And they're like, let's give it a shot. So that's how we got into indie gaming. And then, you know, which is really funny because our first game that we released is 3 Dead Dead. So you know, we came from this, you know, like modeling tanks and just you know, teaching these different types of courseware. And then our first game that we ended up releasing is this game where you're controlling a zombie that's attacking people, rescuing cats, space cats, stuff like that. And it's this really weird kind of like relation when everything else that we've ever done is this so serious, and then all of a sudden like, well, we're gonna do this right here on the side. So let's change the name. That's why we came up with Gentleman Squid Studio. Let's do this different. And you know, just talking to people that are like, what in the world is this? So that's how we got into gaming. So we're basically just trying to expand the portfolio. And now we got all this crazy set of games that we've made.
Well, you guys all answered my next question, which was, what was your first step in creating your indie studio? So I don't need to ask that one. Instead, I would ask you, what is the best, if you could give an aspiring, you know, indie studio creator one piece of advice, what would be that advice that you would give them? What would be your best advice?
Well, everyone always has an idea for a game to play. I mean, we all shoot around like, hey, wouldn't this be funny to do this? You really need, which I didn't know at the time when I was doing this, was it's called scope dog. You're basically taking your game idea, making sure you plan it out of what you want to do with your game. I don't care if like at this moment you don't have a team or anything like that, but you need something to at least put it down so you remember this. If you're going to get rid of it later, you know, you can get rid of it, but it also keeps your ideas from like opening out overall, your game can get massive and then you'll never make a game. So you really should have some kind of planning. Like, okay, here's the idea, and that way if I'm like, okay, well, I'm an artist, I need a programmer, at least we can ask the programmer and say, hey, I'll help you get this stuff done. And also now you have a team to just kind of form that. But you definitely should have something in the beginning to plan out what you're doing. That's my first interest.
I think that's very good advice.
I would second that because I sucked at that, and I had like all these weird text files on my computer named like hggg256b.txt, and they all have different like little tidbits in them, but I just sucked at planning. So, but mine would be like, I guess it's kind of bootstrapsy sounding or whatever, but like, you know, if you want to make a game, like just start doing something. You don't need everything you need to start making a game is free. Like right now, you can find stuff. So just like go find stuff, and you're probably gonna suck if you've not done it for a long time. But just keep doing it. And if people tell you you suck, you probably maybe suck a little bit, but just keep doing it. And
Eventually you'll get better.
you'll get better.
Not
Yeah,
better
not
at
better at
sucking,
sucking.
better at making
You'll
games.
always get better. Like, I know it sounds like mom advice or something, but like seriously, like don't like I seriously gave up for like 3 years, and I tried to start a progressive rock band, and then while I was telemarketing, and you know no one likes that either. That's not marketable, but like, and then I was like, whenever the Kickstarter happened, and I saw like people were like, oh, that's cool again. I was like, I can do this. And so I don't know, just keep going. Just don't stop. That's all.
So how many people here have an idea as to the percentage of indie games that are started versus the percentage of indie games that actually get released?
I'd say it's like 98% don't get finished.
Correct. The primary reason why is lack of project management. And
Yes.
planning is 80% of project management. And we're not just talking about scope, which is obviously you got to control scope or it's going to go crazy. Okay? But you also have human resources, right? Who's going to do this art? Oh, my art next door. No. You got to know what kind of artists do you need? What kind of audio people do you need? Do you need composers? Do you need designers? You need level designers. You need technical artists, right? Who can get into the build and add your art. You know, so and then how are you going to talk to them? Right? Are they in Timbuktu or are they across the street? You still have to Skype with them. When are you going to meet? Right? Then you know. So you got communications, you got human resources, you got scope, schedule, right? Oh yeah, let's work on this game until Buzz Aldrin lands on Mars, right? Ain't gonna happen, okay? I see people come to me and they say, oh, we've been working on this game for a year and a half, I'm really proud. All due respect to you guys who've been working a year and a half on a game, if you want to make money at it, if you can't do it in 6 months, you're in the wrong business, okay? Plain and simple. It's a hobby. Nothing against hobbies. I love playing tennis. It's a hobby, but honestly, I want to make money making games. And if you can't do it in 6 months, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay? So you plan it and you execute that plan. And our first game got greenlit in 6 months, less than 6 months. So that's all. I cannot stress it enough. Okay, plan it out.
We actually have a question.
We have a question. From the time they became a BGB client, it got greenlit in less than 6 months. They had already started working on the game before that, but they had no direction, they didn't know where they were going, they didn't know what they wanted to do, and so they came to me and said, these are our assets, this is what we're looking at, we'd like to make money with it. I looked at the game, thought it looked good, I got some expert judgment from people who like games, and they told me, hey, it's a pretty good game. I think it has potential. So I put them on a 6-month milestone to say, okay, you got to do this 1 month, plan it out. The first month is planning. They need to work on the game. Just plan it out. We know there's change, right? But if you don't have a plan, how do you know you're going to, whenever something changes, you're still focused on what you're supposed to be accomplishing? Okay? So then we do the plan, and then we start executing, and then as change evolves, we control that change, and then we were on green light, we were like top between 30, top 40 for sure for a couple of months, and then we gave a presentation at Orlando Tech Meetup like last month, or a month ago, and we're like, oh, let's check the site to make sure that when we give our site name to people, right? I'm like, there's a green bar on this page. What's that saying? And then all of a sudden, one of the guys goes, we just been greenlit. So to answer your question, this particular instance, and it's actually several of the instances, they come to us first, but honestly, it should still take some time. Okay? If it takes longer than that, maybe you need to overscope it, or maybe you need to get into episodic and say, let's just release this game first. Maybe people don't like it. Why spend a year creating a game people don't like it? Why not spend 6 months perfecting the game, the gameplay, mechanics, and everything else, and then if that sells, let's come out with version 2, version 3, maybe another game, right? You should be making money in 6 months. Okay, so that's what I'm making my money on, and hopefully that's what we generate. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Before we move on, I want to comment on something Jay said. He said if you want to get out there and make games, you should make some games. And there's a really good place to do that. They're like twice a year now, right, Jay?
Yes. The game jams? Is that what you Yes. Come to these Orlando, what, January? When? From the 23rd through the 25th, is it here? Right here, there's a game jam, and if you've never made a game, it doesn't matter, just come here anyway. You'll find something to do on a team, I can like guarantee it. If you like to write, like whatever, I don't know, audio, whatever. They have like all this awesome recording crap in here too, like, so come to the game jam. Okay.
We also have another game jam, the Indie Game Jam, which is in July or June. It's in the summer.
I strongly suggest that if you love making games and want to really experience making a game and are willing to stay up for 48 hours, be here that weekend. Just trust me, it's an awesome experience. You get to work with people you never worked with before, you learn a lot about yourself, and now you can put another game on your resume.
I specifically join teams that I don't know anybody on the team. Thank you, Aaron.
But like our second game that we're currently working on developing came from a game jam, and it did surprisingly well. We just stuck it up after we made it. We're like, oh, let's throw it up on the Google Play Store, and a little while later we had about 5,000 downloads. We had no idea people would like this. So it's a great way to kind of if you want to test a prototype or an idea, a great way to find out like as get some expert opinions and expert advice. And to find out like if the game is worth working on longer. Back to the question.
The question is if you could give one piece of advice to an inspiring indie developer or creator.
Probably the besides maybe the things that have been already mentioned, especially scheduling and scoping, which is very important and helped us a lot. The main thing with us, at least in the experience of TBA Games, was don't be afraid to tackle and try out whatever you don't have, like whatever skills you don't have, go out and learn them. In the process of making a game, our programmer went from being, he wasn't a programmer to start with, and then learned programming in Unity, in 3D, over the course of the year of making Variarian. Same with me, like I started with no art skills whatsoever pretty much, and then just ended up doing all the art for the game just because that was sort of our worst case scenario, was not being able to find anybody else to work on the game, and if that happened, so we had to go out and learn the skills, but it really helped, and we learned a lot more about game making in the process. So don't be afraid to try new things, even if it's outside your comfort zone.
Wow. So everybody gave like really good advice, and then like left nothing for me, because like I would just be saying exactly what they would all say. So I can just go ditto, 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 ditto. Yeah, planning is key. Project management is key. Going out and doing things is key. Stay in school, don't do drugs. That's good advice. But yeah, there's so many things there's so many moving parts in building a game. There's a lot you're gonna have to do. And something that I find that's common with a lot of game developers and maybe just developers in general, sometimes you go into this small bubble and you may not interact with other people enough. You kind of go into your self-imposed dungeon, and I feel like being able to show off what it is that you're working on is really, really important, because when you get other people's opinions on it, you're going to start finding problems that you may not know exist. And so when you can show it at a place like Indienomicon, or you can show it around to your friends, and you know what, they tell you like, I don't like that, or this is good, or that's bad, you want that. And if you have playtest sessions early, and you see people are not having fun, that's really great. You want that blood and carnage as early as possible, and you want to be able to cry, and let that happen at the beginning. Yeah,
We actually did a studio here in Orlando, who I'm not going to name, but they developed a game, and I think they only worked on it for like 3 months before they started playtesting. They realized that their entire concept was not fun.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really important. And then on top of it, when you do that, you create more connections. Knowing other people is really important, because I'm not good at a lot of things, and I'm good at maybe some things. But when I know other people, I can find some of those people that are better at the things that I'm not good at. And that sometimes is what's going to help you get your project through. You can't just rely on the universe giving you everything you need to complete stuff. You sometimes have to go and make magic happen. And like, if you go out and meet different people and you show your project, people generally want to help out. So I would say, as you're building your game, show it off to a lot of different people, make friends, go to game jams. Those are huge, because it gives you a weekend to experiment on building a game, on something you normally wouldn't do, something normally people may not pay you to make. And you're going to learn some new technology, and because you're in the trenches with these people, you're like in this high pressure situation. That's where like the best friendships are made, or probably your worst enemies. So it's either or. You either have like your best friends or like your nemesis, and it's worth having either. But you go to these game jams, and you sometimes come up with the people that you want to start your company with, or the people that you want to hire, or that you just want to work with. And sometimes you come up with a project that might have legs after the event. So I would say, go to things like the Global Game Jam, which will be on January 23rd through the 25th here at the Melrose Center, which is amazing, because this place is better than most like professional production studios. You're gonna have like,
And they have that awesome recording studio.
yeah. So even if you're not a recording artist, you could go into a professional recording studio and sound a whole lot better than you normally would. So you have all this stuff at your disposal, and then things like Indie Galactic Space Jam, where you then work with people in the space industry. Or maybe there might be a game jam, I don't know, heard through the rumor, the grapevine. There might be one with the sports industry. There's so many different things that you can kickstart by those events. But I would just say, be more social, be less antisocial. And, go to game jams, and you're gonna end up in a good spot.
So we're running through time quicker than I thought here. 2 questions left that I really want to ask. The first one I'm going to ask is, what is your biggest challenge, and how did you overcome it? And then we're going to save this one for last, but the last one I'm going to ask is, what is the best part of being an indie scene? So for now, your question is, what is your biggest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many different challenges. I know, at least personally for me, I'm just pretty spread thin, you know, raising funding, you know, for building, you know, a studio and all these different things. You know, when it becomes a business, you know, cash flow is important, and so, you know, trying to bring funding into Orlando, funding into your ventures and your game studios and all that kind of stuff is a difficult thing. So I spend a lot of time doing business-related things, and it kind of stretches me thin. But you know, being surrounded by other passionate, like-minded people, other people in the industry, you know, when we talk about our individual problems, we sometimes can solve them. And I think when there's strength in numbers, you know, sometimes funding can come, you know, to situations like that. So I've just been having to do a lot of work, a lot of business-related things, just to generate cash. But you know, yeah. So sometimes when you see me like, you know, full bearded and stuff, it's because like I'm doing like hardcore business development. And then if you see me totally clean shaven in a collared shirt, it's because now I have a meeting coming up. So like there's this whole like yo-yo effect of like I go from being a hobo to like a, you know, business person, and somewhere in between cash is made. But you know, eventually I want to move away from that, and you know, as there's this community and there's products being made and there's structure, you know, I think success will come with that, and I'll be, you know, less stretched out. But yeah, that's my challenge.
I can second that as well. Also, another challenge for us at least has been communication and trying to translate between like just different ideas of the game and different ideas of like say a particular feature or asset. That's always a challenge, and if you have like anybody doing outside work for you, which we've had a few people pitch in and help with that, communicating with them is an issue, and also trying to keep on top of things like emails. And we've been trying, since we had a Kickstarter, been trying to personally respond to a lot of our backers and a lot of the people, the backers who we gave builds to. We try to address everything personally, and that takes up a lot of time. The hardest thing is probably the multitasking of juggling communication, things like social media, being online, checking, just being up to date on everything, and checking your email constantly. That really kind of conflicts a lot when you want to just sit and make the game. So that can be a bit challenging.
I don't know where to start on that one. Here's a fan of Star Trek. Some Star Trek fans? Okay. My favorite quote in Star Trek is when Picard comes to Data after he lost to that Stratagema master, right? He thinks there's something wrong with him, and he's sulking in his room, and Picard comes down there and says, "Look, I've had enough of this stuff." He says, "Look, you can do no wrong and still lose. That's not failure, that's life." And so, as much as we plan things, and as much as we want to do things, and as much as we just do things, stuff's going to happen. Murphy loves Burnout Game Ventures, right? Murphy loves Dropsy, Murphy loves Phyken, Murphy loves Gentleman Squid, Murphy loves everybody. So, the biggest problems that we have is dealing with the risks that turn into issues. So, yeah, you can plan how to preempt your risks and things like that. You know, sometimes they're just going to happen. So I'll echo what they said about being, you know, wearing the word having to wear many hats. And, you know, when you get to be my age, you know, you get confusing, start, you know, oh yeah, program this, I'm an artist. Okay, yeah, right. So, you know, you got a lot of things you got to cover. So, fortunately, with enough people, I started to delegate things, so you get to be able to let them do that voodoo that they do so well, so then you can do your job. And then lastly, it's people. You know, we have what, 12 higher education programs in Orlando dealing with games, Like no other place in the world has that. So we have a lot of talent that comes through here. The question is, what's the quality of that talent? You know? So our biggest problem, being an entrepreneurial firm, you're unpaid until the game starts making money. Okay? So we're telling you to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. So the problem is entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. Right? If you want to come in and try it out, hey, I'll give you props for that. But if you're going to come work for us, at least do what you say you're going to do. Right? Don't tell me you're going to do 10 hours of work a week, and then we don't see you for a month. So that's one of the big problems that we have too. Is if you really want to be successful in anything, you've got to put the time in, and you've got to do what you promise. So that would be my answer to that.
I would second that. I see a lot of people that they want to get into this, they want to start making games, but they don't really want to put more than 2 or 3 hours a week into it.
And if you're not willing to do 10 hours a week when I'm working 90, we gotta talk.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess my biggest challenge would be personal finances with my game, because our game was supposed to be out a month ago originally. Actually 2 months ago originally, according to our big Kickstarter that went through. And we had some changes in personnel on the programming end of things. And I had only planned to have to be poor until November 1st. So, bank account starts getting negative, and you're like, Dad! Hey, Dad! How's it going? But thankfully, my dad's around here, and he believes in the game, so he's expecting a little payout whenever this is all over. But if you don't have a dad, make sure, or your dad is meaner than my dad, make sure that you plan to have money for your living and stuff. Yeah. And so, personal finances is just a pain in the butt, because you don't realize, car insurance, without that you can't go here, gas, health insurance, which I don't have, but I found a cool volunteer doctor, so call around. Anyway, that's my challenge. Here you go.
Very good advice. Always make sure to keep a backup, so when things don't go the way they work, you can live.
Well, pretty much the same. You put a lot of hours into making a game. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I actually have two things. One of the hardest things going on when making a game is actually noticing all these other games that you can't play because you're too busy making a game. And so I don't know about you, but my backlog of video games and scenes is incredibly large now. I'm like, oh, I have the inspiration to play this game, and I still haven't touched it. So now that's a new layer of stress. Oh, I gotta play these games. So I gotta make my purchase worth it. Now it's permanent. But when it actually comes to actual game development, making the game is technically the easy part once you get that down, but getting the word out is really hard, and just marketing it, getting it out there. I mean, there's so many facets to it, and there's a lot. When it comes to marketing, that you have to be active in social media, forums, just in general coming into events like this. But as part of that it's also equally rewarding to see people playing a game. It's really exciting. It's really cool to see people smiling, laughing. It's kind of funny when you see someone just getting mad at your game and then people are I hate this game, I mean, it's kind of a joke between the development team, but so it's marketing, get your game out there, getting people to play it. That's all as said earlier, it's the hard thing.
That's a lot of the stuff that we try to help you out with here at Indienomicon. Alright, the last one was the easy one. What's the best part about being an indie developer?
Just full creativity. I mean, you can just think whatever you want and make a game. Like I said earlier, our first game was a zombie that transforms wrestling cats. required for that game opening. So it's just, I mean, you just, as an indie developer, you definitely have this full creativity of what you want to do and just go for it. So that's a lot of fun.
I'd say that too. I think everyone's probably gonna say something similar to that probably, but like, yeah, you don't have some bureaucratic like machine making you do certain things based on market research. I mean, it's good to do that somewhat, but not, with your creative position. I don't know. My favorite thing is I like music. I like doing music more than making games. Like, sorry. Like the process, like pixel art, I get so ADD bored. Like pixel arting, it takes forever. But music, I could sit there and make music for like ever. I just love making music. It's just fun to me, the whole process. So I like that games are a medium, and especially indie games where you have full control, where you can combine like all of the little other mediums into one big interactive thing, like art, music, everything. It's fun. And it doesn't make any money. Well, maybe I'll talk to you later about that or something.
Well, I don't know if it's so much, being involved in indie gaming as it is just being an entrepreneur, Because to me, I mean, 90-something% of all jobs are from startups, entrepreneurs, and, people willing to take a risk to follow their dreams and to, make themselves and the world a better place. I mean, that's to me what it's all about. But as far as indie games is concerned, I love working with creative, off-the-wall kind of people. Talented, genius. I mean, you're all geniuses. I had a guy who wore a different hat every day. I called him the hat guy. And I had to tell him, I said, knock before you walked into the room, because that was the only person that had to knock before you came into the room. Because I'd be working there and whoa, it's like what is that, right? But the guy was a great, a hell of an asset, and so I don't know. I mean, I thought he was like the Imelda Marcos
And I thought
or
you
something,
meant wore a different hat, meaning he would do a different job. But no, he literally wore a different hat on his head every day.
And I love people like that, and I love dynamic people that are just passionate about what they do. Because if you're not loving what you do and doing what you love, I'm sorry, that's a miserable existence, right? So, indie gamers, y'all are passionate, talented, and fun to work with, and that's why I get up with a smile in the morning and work until 2 o'clock at night, because I'm enjoying it. And so, that's to me what it's all about.
I'd have to say it's kind of a tie between two different things. The first one is just getting things working is the best thing ever. When something hasn't been working and then all of a sudden like the programmer or an artist or something gets it right, and just you can actually see it for the first time and like play your own game for the first time. That's just the best feeling ever. And
that happens so many times in every game jam. You get stuck, and you're like stuck for 2 hours, and you're like, yes!
And just especially after things get really frustrating and just you've been working for ages, and just in the process of everyday development. And also hearing feedback. It's probably a bit egotistical, but it never gets old. It's always great to hear feedback. And the second best thing would probably be, and I know it might make me sound like a bit of a hipster to say it, but having some integrity. Being able to just sit back and say, okay, well, we've done something that's kind of good, and we hope it'll like inspire people and just like be a force for good in a very, very small way, probably, but still, like we're not a giant corporation that just makes games to make money entirely. We still want to make games to make money because we want to survive, but just having some sort of integrity and control over the process is nice.
I have to agree with Eric, and every time I see my art live in a game and somebody else plays it and enjoys it, it brings me a great amount of just pride in it.
Again, everybody has given all the answers that I would have given.
You get to go first when it starts on your side.
I know.
Maybe it ends up with the hard one.
Yeah, I could have been like some super genius, like, man, you give so great answers, but no, everybody gave super great answers, so I don't know what else is left to say. But I mean, I don't know, for me, yeah, I do like creating things, because maybe it's part of the entrepreneurial like aspect of, you know, being able to make things happen, sometimes on your own terms. You know, I'm sometimes a little bit impatient. I'm patient as well as impatient. Like, you know, being able to wrangle together certain resources to make things move forward. You know, working on a project, on a game. You know, finding the resources to make it happen is pretty enjoyable. And when it finally comes to fruition, like, that's really gratifying. You know, I don't have kids yet, but, you know, those projects, when they come together, that's like your kid, that's your baby. And then, you know, also, you know, being in indie games, you know, you don't have to wear like a suit and tie always, so that's always pretty nice. Like jeans and t-shirts, you know, like that's pretty great, because, you know, we work really long hours because it's something that we love to do. You know, you control a little bit of that aspect. You know, it's a comfort zone, so that's great. But, you know, pretty much what everybody else said. So ditto. And yeah, just being able to, you know, find the right connections, the right resources, making things happen. And especially when other people tell you can't do something, that it will never happen, or like there isn't enough time, or, you know, that's going to be too difficult. Being able to show them that, you know what, oh yeah, we will make it happen. You know, we will find a way to make it happen. You have to change your mindset.
You made the Space Jam in like 2 months. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Oh yeah, exactly. That was, you know, that was great, because I know, you know, firsthand, like, what great things come out of these game jams, the connections that happen, the jobs that are made, the products that come out, the economic impact that happens, and I knew I wanted to do something with the space industry. And so yeah, I was just talking to friends and I said, you know what, this space used to be awesome when we were kids. It used to be so much more exciting. You know, we should have that again. And so yeah, less than 2 months, we put that thing together when other people said, no, wait a full year. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough time to wrangle these people. You don't have enough, you know, all the reasons why something won't work, but never the reasons why it should work or why it must work. And, you know, we showed them that it can happen, and that was inspiring to a lot of folks. And, you know, the right things happened there. Some people got jobs. Some people got their projects completed. Some people found new people to hire. Some people got work out of it.
And some people made a game. They went on the Android market and made
right, and somebody made a game and then got 5,000 downloads and now has a sequel, and, you know, hundreds of people asking, you know, for that sequel, and it all happened because, you know, some people said, you know what, no, screw you. This is not, you know, we have to wait years to make things happen. We can make them happen now because we're all talented people, resourceful, we'll make it happen. And then great things happen. And they happen now, not in the future. You know, waiting for a perfect future is, you're going to be waiting a long time. So, so yeah, you know, it's that aspect, I guess, of the whole indie culture and entrepreneurial spirit, like making things happen.
All right, guys, that's it for the panel. We're actually over time. I probably should have scheduled 2 hours for this. I hope I brought you some great speakers and tried to get a nice variety. And I think you guys did a stand-up job. What do you guys think? All right, well, thank you everybody for being a part of this, and you guys, make sure to go check out their games. Maybe buy their games and support their studios because they're such awesome people.
Yeah, exactly. You know, show us your love with your dollars. You can, like, literally, just give us some dollars and just leave it on the table. Like, we'll take them.
I have a PayPal. Just ask me.
And then also, again, at the Melrose Center, January 23rd through the 25th is going to be the Global Game Jam. You don't have to be a developer to come and join and be a part of that.
No.
So,
you could be just a kid who really likes making games and he wants to try it out.
Yeah, and you know, at the Space Jam, a stand-up comedian showed up. And I was like, really? Okay. And he was a part of the whole event, and it worked out. So you could be a game developer, you could not be a game developer, you could be a stand-up comedian, you can show up and there's going to be a use for you, and you're going to make something really cool over a weekend. So that's going to be at the Melrose Center, January 3rd, 23rd through 25th. And you can just talk to anybody with the purple shirt for more details on it. And then, or me, yeah, I forgot my purple shirt. And like the Indienomicon page, we're gonna put up details on there, and I hope to see all you guys there.
Cooper wants to say something before we close out.
The Global Game Jam, for those of you who don't know, has been going on for about 8 years now. And this last year that was held, it was 130 countries with over 30,000 people involved.
Well, don't forget, guys, we're streaming, so there's people outside Orlando.
Yeah.
The Global Game Jam is in almost every city.
It's
So if you're in California, if you're in Chicago, if you're in, I don't know, Shanghai.
over 3,000 games were
You can
created
still
in
take part.
48 hours this last January in 130 countries. So bring it. Represent Orlando and let's see what you got.
All right, guys, that's it. There will be a costume contest going on here. I think it's at 4:30.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we are gonna have that or not, but there will be prizes. There will be prizes.
Oh, yeah,
at
the raffle.
4:30. So if you don't have a raffle ticket, go to the front and grab a raffle ticket. You're gonna see Steve with his epic beard waving his hand.
Bearded Steve.
And there are going to be prize packs that you can win, and there are lots of really cool things inside.
Again, thank you everyone for attending. I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed the panel.